Gaming is a weird world, and every month, gameranx puts together the weirdest stuff to gawk at and chuckle. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, the weird gaming stories of December 2023. Starting off with number 10, Steam decided, hey, you know what'd be fun? Grinching on the cheaters. Well, I guess they're kind of reverse Grinching, because they're giving gifts that are terrible. However, they're giving them to cheaters, so they're sending out permabans as gifts. Like, you get a gift in your interface, and you open it, and it says, whoops, you got permabanned. And it also comes with a highly toxic lump of coal. It's also causing some players to specifically beg for forgiveness, which is maybe a lot to expect out of Valve. If you're cheating in their second most popular game, you're, cutting into them making money. Not only off of you, but just making the experience worse for other gamers. So, At number 9, scalpers are selling The Day Before for $200. Yeah, a game that costs $40 and is terrible. Scalpers are attempting to sell for $200. Fantastic went out of business immediately, or just shut itself because it got as much money as it was going to get and needed to stop. They delisted the game, and scalpers were like, you know what? Let's find some rogue keys. There's money to be made here. So what's interesting about this is it has to do with game preservation in a certain way. It's very quickly becoming a rare game. It's also historically bad and an example of one of the worst releases ever. Not just in terms of quality, but the fact that they sold about 200,000 copies, half of them refunded, and then the company just disappeared. Now, for reference, that's about $4 million that they actually made out with. But they were selling the game for $40. There are people selling this for $200. On top of that, they're selling accounts with the game for $1,000. People are apparently viewing this as history because of how monumentally bad and stupid everything about it is. At number 8, Sony is about to delete a bunch of crap that people have actually bought. Now, this isn't necessarily Sony's fault, per se. They aren't doing this because they're evil. They're doing this because the way that licensing agreements work, generally, when you buy something now, you don't own it. And this isn't just because games are digital, because oftentimes, even though you were buying a physical copy of a game, you were really buying a license to play it. That has not changed, except for now there is no physical media to ensure that you still have a copy of the game. Or, in this case, TV shows, specifically Mythbusters, Naked and Afraid, and a bunch of other Discovery shows. And because users don't own them, and because PlayStation's licensing agreements are up, they're having to delete these from players' libraries, whether or not people paid for them. Now, in a roundabout way, it is something Sony did by moving to, data as opposed to physical media, but that kind of was inevitable. That's the climate. That's how things work now. Sony didn't explicitly do that. If they didn't do that, everybody else was going to do that and put them at a disadvantage at some point. So while it's easy to blame Sony for this, it's also kind of just technology plus our economic system. Now, there is an argument to be made about that, but this is not the place. We're just here to talk about games. But this sucks. This just completely sucks and should not be how things are. It's that simple. At number 7, Insomniac Games was hacked and a bunch of Wolverine footage came out. Basically, what happened is Insomniac got hacked and the hackers demanded 50 bitcoins, or about $2 million, or they would just release the 1.67 terabytes of data that they had stolen. Insomniac did not pay, and they just released it. And you know what? Wolverine looks pretty sweet. Like, when you see video footage from internal hacks like this, usually it looks god-awful, and this is definitely not representative of a final game. Not that I expect our editors to put footage that was stolen from them into this video. That would be probably not something to do, but it looks great. I would love to show it. It looks like it's gonna be fun as hell. But yeah, I have a feeling that would be a massive problem for us if we did that. Take my word. Or go on to Twitter, where it's just like, I'm sure you can find it. Like, think about when Rockstar Games got hit with that hack for Grand Theft Auto 6, and the thing that was released, what that looked like, Wolverine, again, it's not a finished, polished title, but wow, does it look better than that, like in terms of where it is. And that was only like a year ago. Anybody who's excited for that Wolverine game better be pretty damn excited. I know that there's been some criticism of it, but that's inevitable because you're looking at footage of a game that isn't even close to done. But like compared to other games that aren't even close to done, it looks pretty damn far along. At number 6, some guy calling himself the Florida Joker demanded $2 million from Rockstar for what he claims is them using his likeness, which, yeah, the tattoos on him versus the person in the game, they're not the same tattoos, like, at all. Like, that's not his likeness. And you know what? There's this fun thing about likenesses. If you're calling yourself the damn Joker, I swear to God, there's like this comic book company, like I think called DC or something like that owns the Joker. Don't you think Rockstar Games is probably a little bit more worried about accidentally stepping on their toes than yours, random Florida man? Sir, that is ridiculous. At number 5, Zack Snyder was sitting down to talk about Rebel Moon, which, I mean, you can think what you want to think about. I haven't seen it yet, and for me, that means I do not have an opinion on it. But as he was talking about Rebel Moon, he's been talking a lot about Fortnite. And eventually, somebody asked him if he would be willing to direct a movie based on Fortnite. And he was like, yeah, of course. Yeah, I would do that. I love Fortnite. Fortnite's freaking incredible. He didn't say that. He said something that's basically that. He said, look, Fortnite is an amazing world, and it's an amazing distraction for me. It's really cool, and the alchemy they've created there is really unique. When I started playing it, I thought I knew what it was, and then it was something entirely different. Now, I do not know what the absolute hell kind of a movie that would be. Zack Snyder is a very specific type of filmmaker, and Fortnite is not what I would think he would do. But he did say never say never. He said that's his mantra in this business. So, will it happen? I don't know. At number 4, a college professor has been using Tears of the Kingdom to teach an engineering class. Yeah, this guy named Ryan Sokol up in the University of Maryland has been showing up with a shield and a sword. He calls the course The Legend of Zelda: A Link to Machine Design. And it might sound very strange, but it actually makes a lot of sense. The guy talks about how in this type of a class, a lot of the time they would spend tens of thousands of dollars licensing proprietary software to simulate physics that Tears of the Kingdom does just fine. In fact, he calls Tears of the Kingdom's physics systems incredibly sophisticated and paired it with more standard CAD design software. And it's crazy. Honestly, the fact that this is where we are with stuff. Zelda game. Like, if you'd have told me back when The Legend of Zelda came out when I was a child, that one day it would be a physics course at the University of Maryland, I would have said, I'm a child and I don't understand anything that you're telling me right now. But Zelda's cool. At number 3, a new AI called Magnific is being used to upscale like old video games, as well as even some stuff from the GTA 6 trailer. While a lot of people have talked about how incredible the trailer looks, it's still got that uncanny valley to it until you toss it in Magnific AI, and then, oh, hey, that just looks like people, doesn't it? It's not perfect, but this shot of the rooftop model is... and that looks like a real person, does it not? And let's also be completely clear, that shot is one of the most uncanny valley shots in everything that we saw from GTA 6. A lot of the main character stuff, in my opinion, doesn't have that same kind of quality to it, but the bikini model on this rooftop had that real plasticky, detailless skin thing, and then all of a sudden, wow, look at that, it's nothing like that. Seriously, AI is insane at this point, and this is perhaps one of the most insane looking ones. I mean, seriously, look what it does to this old school Lara Croft. Not quite sure what to do with that razor sharp tip there in the corner of the boob, but check out Psycho Mantis. There's obviously a little bit of weirdness going on with them photos in the background. They didn't have gas masks before, but I mean, aside from the earbuds our man has hanging from his pockets down there, that's a pretty damn good Psycho Mantis. Crazy. At number 2, the co-founder of Obsidian said that Bethesda rejected multiple Elder Scrolls spin-off proposals that were intended to do similar things to New Vegas. He talked about basically doing an Elder Scrolls New Vegas type game, which that would be good. I would suggest that the reason Bethesda rejected them is because Obsidian kind of showed them up with New Vegas, in my opinion. I have many times said that I think Obsidian understands what people want from a Bethesda game better than Bethesda does, and there are some that disagree with me, but I'm sorry. New Vegas is far more a role-playing experience along the lines of what I would want from Fallout, and I think that Fallout 4 suffered from them trying to be like, no, Fallout 3 is the Bethesda one, rather than wrapping the stuff that Obsidian did to advance the Fallout 3 formula into Fallout 4. I don't know, I just think Bethesda is kind of stuck in their ways in a way that I think needs to stop. I like Starfield. I will advocate for it as a fun example of Bethesda weirdness. But also, if Bethesda would just change engines and just focus on advancing everything that they've come up with, I think you'd get something closer to what Obsidian does, just on the scale of a Bethesda project. I don't know. I would love to see Obsidian in charge of, Fallout 5 or something. And even though both are now owned by Microsoft, technically under one roof, I don't think that's going to happen, but I would like it. And finally, at number 1, a blind guy who relies entirely on sound whips people's ass in Mortal Kombat repeatedly. It's kind of odd to me that people don't understand that this is completely possible. This gentleman by the name of Carlos Vasquez was diagnosed with glaucoma at 11, and he can't see. And not only is Carlos great at the game and plays in competitive tournaments, but he's also become an accessibility consultant for NetherRealm Studios. So although there have always been ways for someone like himself to figure out what's going on in Mortal Kombat, he actually has input as to what might make a game more accessible for somebody who can't see, which is fantastic. Although perhaps I think potentially gives him a little bit of an advantage. Oh yeah, you should make a sound when that thing happens. It's a little tiny sound that, isn't immediately obvious to people, but that I know about because I suggested it to you. Not that it matters in the tournaments that I play in or anything like that. I'm joking. It's not an unfair advantage because the man cannot see. It's fantastic he is able to play and win games like this, though, based on sound cues alone. And that's all for today. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. The best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications. And as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter, Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.